The numbers in the corners, then the captions. If you recorded the date and time down to like the minutes, these are all from 10:20 a.m. And these are scenes from Ollantaytambo, which is an Inca site near Cusco. He also, a lot of the shots that he included are not just of landscapes or of ruins, but of the different artifacts, mummies, bone fragments that he found. So I didn't include a lot of those because that's not really what I'm interested in, but I just wanted to give you an example and kind of the way they're ordered and shot against that fabric backdrop. This is a scene of his, part of the headquarters. Bingham's crew all stayed at this place called Yanquihuasi, which means the house of the Yankee in Quechua. And this is an example of kind of this impromptu studio that he set up for taking pictures of different artifacts. I just wanted to kind of include this picture because I really like it. So this is that's supposed to be this kind of blob is supposed to be a carved cat on the, it's like Puma Urku is Cat Mountain. So I think it might be some kind of a joke about like pretending that they shot the cat, and or it's probably a puma, not a little cat. So that's why they have the gun next to it. There's some other images that are like the indigenous porters kind of posing with the cat without the gun. But it's kind of interesting in that like the technology of the gun and the technology of the camera kind of working together, creating a sense of Bingham, kind of his own image, right, of the explorer. And then, I don't know, I think like this picture kind of gives an example of like the Indiana Jones model of kind of thing. Okay, next image, please. This is interesting. There are a whole series that he took of this dance that happened at Ollantaytambo, and then there's one from the next day as well. And so I think this man is the one who paid for it all, so it's some kind of like general village festivity. But he has a lot of these images which are interesting because they really stand out from the others that are like the members of the crew posing or just scenes of landscape. And then this is some of the dancers who were shown in another picture. And it's interesting, like he takes the people from that kind of chaotic dance and then isolates them, puts them against the door, organizes them in the album in the same way that the mummies were organized. And then this is a scene, a shot, of the governor and his family of Ollantaytambo kind of posing against their house. And it's kind of the studio impulse, like the very 19th century studio portrait, but transported to Ollantaytambo. Yes, and this is from June, so a few days after. There are a couple of scenes of this small town that they visited. And then this is kind of an impromptu scene, I guess. And if you go to the next one, it's, right, everyone is like sitting down, the girl is sat down. So I think like that these two pictures are right next to each other. It kind of is a good example of the ordering impulse, the way that the camera in Bingham's hands like is used to impose order, to impose meaning. Oh, and then this is just an example. There are several of these various panoramas of the landscape. So this is just one example that's the equivalent of 2 photographs, but there's some that are as many as 6 and go, the papers folded in throughout the sketchbook. So this is just, I think he would use the wide-angle camera lens to take these photographs. And it's just another way that he's using photography to kind of bring this world to life back in a foreign context. Okay, so those are just some examples of the photographs from the Bingham expeditions. And this next section is kind of more comparison with some of the images from the Villalba album, which was probably produced in the early 1880s, although we don't know exactly what date. Thank you. So I kind of wanted to focus on images that show perspective and kind of like what that perspective means, because both of these really are images about, as Chris said, about a journey, about progress in a way, different kinds of progress. So this is another example from of a photograph taken by Harry Foote, and it shows the porters kind of going on this trail into the wild mountains, because Bingham's narrative is very much one of discovery, and that is interesting to compare to Villalba, who also uses perspective, I think in a more deliberate way, which you'll see later. Oh yes, and then this is another example of kind of the hand coloring gone awry. This image kind of makes you feel dizzy to look at, but it shows like, it's kind of like Foote, I believe he was the one who colored these in. It's kind of trying to show this like verdant profusion of the jungle, and then these small kind of bent figures moving along the path. And I think if you'll go to the next one, it's kind of similar to this, which is Frederick Edmund Church's 1859 Heart of the Andes painting. Church was one of the Hudson River School landscape painters, and so I think Foote's photographs especially, and their use of color, are kind of trying to reference this 19th century landscape painting mode, and not quite achieving it. Yeah, and then this is another example from that collection. It's just kind of an alley in a small town in Peru. Okay, sorry. These are digitized from the binding, and they have this great color scale at the bottom. But now we move on to the Villalba album, which is, it's interesting how it's structured. About half or 2/3 of the images in the book are these scenes of, can you go back? Are these scenes of, scenes of railroads and railroad cuts and things, and engines. And so that is kind of a different narrative of journey. It moves in location. It starts, the first image in the book is of the port of Mollendo on the coast, and then the images kind of move inland, kind of showing this process of construction, of laying the railroad, and then finally ending up showing the ruins on